Yes, I'm going to start in a few minutes. Can I get you to go to... Okay. I'm going to be on camera here pretty soon here. I'm assuming you don't want to be in your diaper in the background? You want to set up, you want to set up in your room?
Okay, I'll try and be quiet. Oh, I might close the door and take Perry with me.
Great.
No? I'm going to take Perry into my room.
Okay.
Then close the door. So he doesn't,
I am live streaming right now.
You're not, are you?
I am.
But the camera's not on, right?
Yeah, it is. Actually, it isn't. Why isn't it? I'll check it in a minute. All right, it is 3 o'clock. Hi, Jeremy. My output does not take up the full width. Do you mean that you can only see part of the screen? Is this better? Am I taking up more space now? Okay. I could make it a bit bigger if need be. No? Okay. Is there any other questions? There was one question from a student that if the university will continue next week, if we can support self-isolation, and the answer is yes. I'm not sure what that looks like yet. It's easy for me to accommodate full going online. It's easy for me to accommodate doing everything in person. Doing one for some students and the other for other students is a bit more challenging. So I am going to wait until the end of the day to see what that will look like, but we'll accommodate it somehow. I'm not sure yet how. Is there any other questions? Can you hear me when I'm talking? Can you hear me when I'm talking? Oh, okay. Thank you. Is there any question? So there was one question on D2L related to self-isolation. Is there other questions? The question on D2L was is if classes continue on Monday and you choose to self-isolate, if that will be accommodated, and the answer is yes, I will accommodate. What that is going to look like yet, I am not sure. Okay, so I have an echo now. Echo is too loud. What kind of an echo? Let me check. Let me try to change the sounds. It was working great before. Okay. Is this better than again? Can you hear me? Is the echo gone? Okay. Not really, okay. I don't have a microphone. I'll try to get a little bit further away. You can hear me, but the echo is still there. Okay, I'll try to do most of my stuff via writing then. Is there no other comments? I'll write answers. Any other questions? So there's two possible outcomes. Classes will be cancelled. Okay. If I have to continue doing this, I'll get a microphone so that I can do this better. If classes will be cancelled, we'll move fully online, including all assessments. Okay, so all assessments will move online. If you have questions on what that will look like, let me know. If classes will continue, is actually the more challenging parts, because I will completely understand that many of you or some of you want to not come to classes anymore, will want to do everything online for your own health purposes, and it is being recommended by health services, by medical professionals. So then there will be the option of doing all assessment remotely. I'll get a better tool as well. The university has promised to have something called Zoom available for us. So I will try to use that because it has a much nicer interface where you can talk to me as well. But it will continue to offer things in class as well. Okay. So I'm hoping that by the end of today, we will know better on how the class is going to go forward. Is there any other questions before I go into today's materials? I'll give it a moment. Emails. You want me to do, are you asking me if we can do one of the practices as a group right now? What would remote assessment look like? Okay, that is a good question. A remote, it depends. So for the quizzes, it's going to be relatively straightforward. I'm going to move the assessments into D2L, so you would be completing it in D2L rather than in person. We would be canceling the team component of it, so you would only do the individual one. Coding challenges will also continue, so if we move fully online, the way that we're going to work with the coding challenges is you will be doing them from home. So the coding challenges will continue. All right, I'm going to write this down. So if we go online, so for the quizzes, I will cancel the remaining team quizzes. Okay, managing that would be too difficult. And the individual quizzes will be done through D2L. So it's pretty similar to the practice quizzes, but they will be timed, so you have to start them at a particular time, they have to end at a particular time, and we'll also randomize the orders of the questions so that all of you will be faced with questions in a different order, and also the answers will be in a different order. So we'll finish off the quizzes for the semester, but we will not do any further team quizzes. So that's for the quizzes. For the coding challenges, you would have to do them from home as well. And the way we're going to manage that is that all of you are going to be writing them at exactly the same time. And they will be during Friday's class. During Friday's lecture. And you will be doing them from home. And there will be some other small changes, so we'll probably make them a little bit shorter. And you will be randomly assigned to a version. So you probably noticed that we have multiple versions of these coding challenges. But they will be randomly assigned a version. Cancel team quizzes? Yeah, I know. That's actually one. So there's one person. How will the cancel quizzes affect the weighting? I am going to leave the team quizzes at the same weights. So basically, we've done 16 quizzes. So I'll just take the average out of the team quizzes. So I'll write this down, team quizzes. So I'll just drop the lowest. And then take the average. And that will be your team quiz grade. So instead of taking them out of 8, I will make it out of 5. So I don't change So each team quiz will be heavier weighted now than it would have been originally. If that's a problem for any of you, just let me know. But the weights with team versus individual quizzes will remain the same. Yes. Any other questions related to the quizzes? Okay. And the coding, so as I mentioned, the coding challenges will continue, but they'll be done during lecture time rather than during the tutorial time, so that the whole class is writing it at exactly the same time, remotely. We will be doing, so this is still meant to be completed individually. We will be doing comparisons between solutions. You've probably heard this in 217, where we do check to see for similarities between submissions. So we'll be putting the solutions that you submit through a similarity checker. Just make sure you write your own, and you're going to be randomly assigned one. Other questions related to that? Now, this is if the entire class is, so if all classes are asked to continue remotely rather than on campus. Demos, yes, demos of the project. The project is the hardest thing to work with. Projects. The biggest problem with the project is they're meant to be team projects. And I'm going to first do a survey to find out how comfortable all of you are continuing working within your team. So I'm going to ask you, are you comfortable continuing to work in your team? Because that is actually, if you then decide to work remotely from each other, that is a fairly difficult thing to do. I mean, you've probably noticed that when you're working together in person, it's a lot easier to get things done. So I'm going to ask you how comfortable you are working in teams. And depending on that, we'll look at how the project continues. The demos most likely will start organizing Zoom teleconferencing sessions. The university has promised to make Zoom available to all of us so that you can teleconference in and then do a presentation actually to the whole class remotely. But we'll see how that works. I think also the SET project is affected by this as well. It's not just the self-chosen project, because in the SET projects, it's still, you need to get together to work on this, and if we're self-isolating, getting together is a problem. So there might be a change in requirements to make it a little bit easier to work remotely with each other, etc. But that I will have to make final decisions on, depending on also what your input to me is for the project. Any other questions related to the project? No other questions? Okay. The only thing I want to say is that we'll just make this work somehow. I want to make sure, yeah, how can I get help? Yes. All right. Help with, basically help, right? With anything. So how do I manage office hours? I will have office hours on Monday. Okay. so that you can meet with me on Monday if you want. I'm also going to figure out a way to set up helping or meeting virtually and still being able to help with debugging. So there is a various numbers, there is some tools available so that we can share your desktop so that we can work together on your desktop. So I'm going to look in tools like that. I will have it set up by Monday, so I'm going to take the weekend to figure out how the best way is to help to remotely help you. If that is needed, but I will have office hours, and if you want to meet with me in person on Monday, I will be open for that as well. I will open up a You Can Book Me page. So for Monday, so that you can book a time with me on Monday as well. So just keep posted for that. I will make that available over the weekends. And that meeting can be done in person or remotely. Does that answer that question? Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, so hold off until Monday with a meeting with myself or one of the TAs. Okay, I actually want to do today's topic then, and the only topic I want to talk about for today is working with exceptions. Good. Post other questions if you have questions as we're going on. So let's take a look at exceptions. You've been working with exceptions for a while. So you can move outside of this channel if you want. This is not in here, I wanted to go. If you go to the content for today, there is a short video, I think it's about 7 minutes long, this very first one, Introduction to Exceptions. If you could take about, 10 minutes, and I'll come back in 10 minutes at 3:33, after you've watched the Intro to Exceptions video here, and then I'll have some top hat questions related to that. So go ahead. 10 minutes. All of you should have had enough time now to watch the video. I'm just going to see if this is going to work. You should be able to get into Top Hats, and the join codes, if you go online, is 741784. So you can use that. I'll start the question, and hopefully that you'll be able to answer that. So the code there has method 3 calls method 2, method 1, and my question is, which of these two will you see when this code tries to run? Oh, okay, sure, I'll wait. I'll stop this for a moment. I thought it was 7 minutes. Okay, I think that was enough time, so let me know again if I'm going too soon. I'll start the presentation. And I just want to know what the stack trace instance is going to look like when this code runs. So let's start this again. going to give it a little bit more time in case there's more of you that still want to answer the question. Right, let's take a look at where you have clicked. Ooh, both cases. All right. So let's take a look at this. Notice that main is always at the bottom, and remember that things are being stacked on top of each other. So over here, I want to look at this as a stack of calls, and we do always start at the bottom. So the first call is placed at the bottom of the stack, and it's main. Main then calls method 3. So method 3 is next placed on the stack. The next thing on the stack is method 2. The last one is method 1. Method 1 is the one that has the division by 0. So that's the one that will throw the exception. So the message will be the message that you see, arithmetic exception, division by 0. Divide by 0. And it just grabs the entire stack as it looks like when the moment that the exception is thrown, and we're inside of method number 1. So it will put method 1 at the top and main at the bottom, meaning that this is what it will look like. So 1, 2, 3, and main is the stack. So it's always the one that is sitting at the top, most one, is the one that is most relevant. All right, let's take a look at the next question. Or is there any other questions about this? All right, next question. So I'm just going to give you a list of exceptions, and I'm going to ask you which one is checked and which one is not, or in a sense is an error. About 5 seconds left. Good. So the only checked exception is a found not found exception. And one way that you can notice is because null pointer exception, you will have seen this most likely already. You've probably already seen number format exceptions, and you've already seen index out of bounds exceptions. And the compiler never complained saying, hey, you haven't handled this exception. Why haven't you handled this exception? Okay, so you were not required. Those are things you should be preventing as you're coding. So that leads into the next question, which asks, why does Java distinguish between checked and unchecked exceptions? So remember, null pointer was unchecked. Number format exception is unchecked. Divide by zero or an arithmetic expression is unchecked. Oh, since there's 30 seconds left. Do you see a timer? Yeah, there must be a lag. Okay. Yeah, look at the timer on your top hat. However, if you're using your phone, then you can't do that. So I might just give you all, so when I see the timer running low, I'll just give you an extra 30 seconds, okay? Also note that you can answer multiple times. I'll start the question, but I will give a little bit of extra time for this one. 30 seconds, okay. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I added 30 extra seconds this time. Okay, I hope everybody got to answer this time. Let me know if I still need to add more time. So when there was 30 seconds left, I added another 30 seconds. 12, all of the above. Let's take a look. Correct. Yeah, so null pointer exceptions are in your control. So, you know, Java does not require you to check from them. It's just expected that you will prevent them. There would be way too much code if you were required to handle all of them explicitly. So all of the answers are correct. And checked exceptions are easily preventable. Unchecked exceptions are easily preventable. C should say unchecked exceptions are easily preventable and leaves it to you to prevent them. It is the checked exceptions that are much more difficult to prevent. Let me know if there's any questions on that. So those are the 3 questions I had on this video. Then there is a second video that goes into a lot of detail on how to handle exceptions, so how to catch them, that there's different sets of exceptions that can be caught. That video is about 15 minutes. So we'll come back at about 5 minutes after 4. So I'll give you about a little bit more than 15 minutes to watch that second video. And then we'll do another top hat questions related to that. I just saw the email as well. If you're with me. So I'll just note this. Yeah, so I'm kind of relieved. It will make planning a little bit easier. So we will do everything online. So over the weekends, I will post things. Did you not finish? Yes? I won't get started with the questions yet. I'll wait a moment. Oh, the throw aspects. The next video that we're going to look at, will also talk about throw statements. So we'll get back to that as well. Let me think here. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Let me get back to that in a minute. So the university just sent out an email, so I'll get back to the throws and the catches in a moment. But so the university has said that classes will move online, so we're not going to have in-person classes for the near future, and I'm going to assume until the end of the semester. So all assessment will be moved to online, so you're not going to go into the tutorial next week to write a coding challenge, and you will not come to the lecture to write the quiz next week. I will post over the weekend the exact details on how we're going to do things a little bit differently, and you can ask questions there as well on that. I will be available for in-person meetings. If you need to meet with me virtually, I'm available for virtual as well. And let me now talk about throw statements. I don't have the example in front of me. So throw is a keyword, it's maybe a new keyword where you can initiate an exception. So you've seen the result of exceptions. So you have seen null pointer exceptions, you've probably seen index out of bounds exceptions, you've seen a whole bunch of exceptions, and somebody had to start that. The moment the code noticed that something was null, it would have basically said throw. And throw is something similar to return. So when you see a return statement, you know that the method is going to end. Yeah, whether the return is in the middle somewhere. So if I have my method 1, and I have some statements here, and then I get a return. And some more statements afterwards, you know that the moment that you see a return, the method is going to end and it's going to go back to the method that called it. So that is one way to end a method, using a return statement. And you've seen returns this semester and the previous semester. A throw is a different way of ending the current flow. And basically, it will end the methods. It basically stops, continuing to the next. It stops and doesn't execute the next statements. But what throw is looking, so return just goes back to whoever called it. What throw does is it basically is going to go up the methods that called it and the next method and the next method, and it just keeps going up, back to the method that have called it until it sees a catch. Okay. So a throw doesn't just look for the method that called it. This is looking for a catch statement. If it doesn't find the catch statements, the entire program comes to a halt. Okay, so that is the important thing to notice right over here. When you have a throw, this here is what is an exceptional situation. It basically bypasses everything. It just halts all of these methods. They're just going to be removed from the stack and removed from the stack and removed from the stack until it finally finds something that can catch that exception. So I hope that helps a little bit. The actual question that I have in Top Hat asks you to trace codes related to an exception. So let's go to the question related to that. So as you can see, I have a little bit of code here with a try catch statements. And my apologies, I just noticed that Top Hat is not maintaining the indentation. So hopefully you can put in your minds, I find it hard to read code that is not properly indented. It should be indented a little bit. So this here has try and catch statements. There is no throws here. We will look at the throw statements in the next video again as well. Okay, so let's start this question. And I'll give it some extra time if it looks like it is needed. Okay, so it's calling C, let me out. And I'm asking you what will be printed, and what will be printed is a sequence of letters. Okay. Oh, I'm glad the indentation is good for you. We just gave it a bit of extra time because I noticed that there's still a few people tracing this code. All right, let's take a look at the answers that you have. Ooh, it's all over the place. Okay, so let's trace this code. So I'll jump down to the main methods, and I'm seeing that I'm creating an instance of the cat class, and that is just so I can call the meow methods. And notice that I'm calling it with the string Jody. Yeah, so the name is getting the value of Jody. And the first statement is system.out.print. So I'm going to get an A as the first one. Okay, great. Then I have a try. So remember that the only thing a try says is, hey, can you try to execute that and keep your eye out for any exceptions that may happen. So the next thing inside of the try is system.out.print B. So it's definitely going to print a B. There's nothing that has caused any exceptions yet, so it's really going to stay inside of the try block for as long as it can. The next statement says int x is equal to integer.parseInt name. Now, if you remember, when Java tries to parse the string Jody, it's going to choke on it. It basically says, I'm trying to parse a number out of this. Jody, I cannot make a number out of this. So this is when an exception will happen. It is actually, I believe, it might be a number format exception or an illegal argument exception, either one. So the next thing that it does then just going to get a little closer here. So since this here line is causing an exception, it is going to jump to the catch statement and check to see, does the exception match that? Well, whatever is going to be thrown is a subclass of exception, so it's caught. So I'm going to execute what is inside of the catch statement, so I'll put a D down. That is the only code, so now I'm done with the try catch. So that entire block, the whole try catch block is now done. So your try catch block has completed. And it happily goes on to the next statement afterwards, which is system.out.print E. So I will print the E next. And then the method is done. So I go back to whoever called me, and I go basically back to main. After we call meow, it says system.print and then an F. So it should say A, B, D, E, F. And I hope that is indeed the answer that I stated. A, B, D, E, F is then the correct answer. Interesting. Is there any questions on that? Okay. So this means that we can catch any errors that happen anywhere in our code, and we can recover from it. Okay, so the catch statement is meant to recover from an error so that we can then continue on with our code afterwards. So there is one more a video that I would like you to look at, and in that video you're going to look at not just handling exceptions that were thrown by others, but also create our own exceptions when we see an error happening. So this can be when the user provides us, or we're basically say that we have a function, we notice that the argument is null. Now you can throw your own null pointer exception because you have no idea what to do at that point. So that is what the next video is about. Before we go into the next video, is there any other questions? Okay, so let's go into the third video. That is the one that is 7 minutes long. I'll give you 10 minutes until 4:30, and then I have 2 more top hat questions based on that. So at 4:30, we will continue on after you've watched the third video. I'm just taking a break. I'm going back on in about 2 minutes, and then I'll need 10 minutes, and then I'm done.
Okay.
Okay?
Perry, since he has nothing else to do, is being really sleepy. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I didn't feel like going up to my bed, so I set up a little bed on the floor.
You too.
Yeah.
Cool.
With the light blue blanket, the soft and light blue blankets.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that's it actually. Just yeah. Well, I'll go to the bathroom, wash my hands, and then probably go back and settle into my room.
Yeah, I need another 15 minutes or so, and then I'll.
Oh. Want me to bring the massager from your room?
Oh.
Okay. In that case, I'll do everything I said.
Oh, did you hear me talking to my son? The mic was still on. Is on.
So it's recording us, or seriously?
See? One of the students says, "Be careful with a live mic." I'm gonna go back on camera.
Okay.
Very funny. Are you all ready for the next questions? Is there any questions about this last video? Did that clear up any questions related to throw as well? Dog inside the try block. Oh. I'll have to follow up on that. I have to go back to that video and see what you're referring to. You can certainly create instances unless it never got to that statement. Well, let me get back to you on that one after, and I will elaborate on that one. I want to see if you can answer the questions. Is there any other questions? Because I don't know what this one is referring to. Okay, I'm going to see if you can answer these questions in Top Hats. So this one was about creating your own exception class, and why do we create our own exception class rather than using a pre-existing one? Whenever you open it. Okay, let's take a look at your responses. Yeah, it is definitely it's really the only reason. The only reason we create our own exception classes is because it is a meaningful name. So when you see the error happening on the console and it says a null pointer exception, you know right away what it's about. And if it is a index out of bounds exception, you know what it is. So it's a form of documentation and helping in error handling rather than anything else. You could throw generic exception. If you wanted to, the result would be the same, but the information would not be as clear. So I have one more question for you. And this one here is asking about throw and throws and what they mean. This one here is code that has, it will not compile. And then my question is, why does it not compile? So E is also a good answer. It's kind of strange to declare to be throwing an exception when you don't actually throw an exception, but it doesn't actually cause a compile error. The only thing that causes the compile error when you call a method that is declared to throw a checked exception and you don't handle the exception. Okay, so in this case, C is an answer there. I will take a look at that codes and try to provide some clarification on why no instance of dog can be created inside of that try block. So I need to look at it in context. I wanted to thank you for your patience here. I will post something online to indicate how we're moving forward with future classes. We will do the quiz, the individual quiz on Wednesday. We will do the coding challenge during the lecture time on Friday. So it's not going to be during your tutorial. You'll have until Friday to prepare for the coding challenge for next week. And we'll set it all up for Friday. Again, thank you for your patience. Make sure I get a microphone and headsets, so if I need to work with you online again, that I'm better prepared for it. Do give me any feedback on how I can improve this as well. This is a good opportunity for me to get better for working with online or live streaming as well. Is there any questions? Anything you would like me to follow up on with respect either to exceptions or anything else? Yeah, so it will be during Wednesday's lectures. On Wednesday's lecture, we'll have the quiz. It will start at 3 o'clock, but you will be doing it from home on D2L. Yeah, but I will make sure that the quiz starts at 3 o'clock on Wednesday. Any other questions? So the content, so there is a practice quiz. The content is exceptions. In last class, I talked about final, static, and I talked, so let me see here, final, static, and I talked about access modifiers. So public, private, protected, and default. Yeah, so it's going to be on exceptions that we went over today, and final, static, public, private, protected, and default. If any questions come up, so there is a practice quiz available. I'll try to create a few more questions because I used some of the questions from the practice here today as well. And let me know if there's any questions on D2L as well. And as I said, I will be available for appointments on Monday, either in person or remotely. Let me get back to you. So will these online classes with you no longer have PowerPoints? I will likely actually make PowerPoint slides available. I can check to find, I'm sure I have PowerPoints on exceptions as well, so I can post those as well for you. But I will start leaning a little bit on videos as well that I find online. And I will likely actually make this more asynchronous rather than synchronous. I'm planning to put I'll put a survey up over the weekend where I'm going to ask you whether you would prefer to have synchronous so that we're live streamed or asynchronous. And I'll see what you prefer, but I actually would prefer to do it asynchronous, where I make a video available. I'll ask you to answer some questions, and then I'll give you some feedback on the work that you have done, so that we can communicate asynchronously like that. But I will get back to you on that. Any other questions? Okay, again, thank you all for your patience. We will make this work this semester somehow. You will be seeing some changes and some posts over the weekend to give you a better idea of how we will move forward. But I will make sure that you can all complete this semester successfully. Anyway, have a great weekend. Take some rest. These are, when things are up in flux like this, things are really stressful. I'm going to post a short video that talks about how to work successfully from home, because it can be difficult to be spending a lot of time at home as well. And I'll post resources to help you continue on for the remainder of this semester as well. Anyway, everybody, thanks very much. Have a great weekend.